Years ago, when we were doing G Unit, and he was one of our first customers. Really good guy to work with, pleasure to work with. We did some good business, and then from there, we started doing work with Lux Irie, which was the LRG for women. And I found this guy to be a very good retailer, a very straight up, honest guy, hardworking. If you see most successful people, they have that history. They have that history of working from the ground up and developing themselves into something. And Sagai's, that's Sagai's story, coming from Africa with very little, starting it, working for people, then opening his own business and having it to be a very successful business. And being but while doing that, holding on and keeping his integrity and his honesty, which is admirable and commendable, and that's, it's just not enough of that in this business nowadays.
My background was with Greenhill. Originally, I was one half of the company Greenhill, my partner Damon Green, and we were the wholesale, or actually the agents, worked closely with the wholesaler for Rocawear and Aniche. I want to say approximately maybe 2001, 2002, Sagai came, introduced himself to us, explained that he had a store in the lower level of the Eaton Center at this time. It was I remember it was the store close right to the subway. To me, originally stood out as one of the best locations in the mall because it's the highest traffic location. From his background and how he approached us at the time, we were fairly confident that we could do some good business with him, which we ended up doing.
My name is Rich Clark. I work at Group Imperial, and we represent all of the Echo family of brands. Zoo York, which you see behind me, is a very prominent skate brand. And we also do a couple other MMA brands, Dethrone Royalty and Silverstar. Prior to joining the team at Group Imperial, I know Sagai from School of Hard Knocks, which was my brand, which was a brand that we started in New York in 1992. And I probably would have met Sagai the early part of the decade, the late part of the 90s, when he started Studio 47. And initially it was just a cart in the mall, and he grew that to something much bigger, but we've been doing business together for a long time. He was in a mall, which is the Eaton Center, which is the biggest mall in Ontario, the highest traffic, probably not quite the highest rent, but at that time it would have been the highest rental units in that mall, Cadillac Fairview Mall.
My name is Lloyd Demetrius. I'm owner and operator for Jordan's Fashion for the past 25 years. I've known Sagai for a number of years, at least 10, 15 years. I met him when he first started out. Young, ambitious, enthusiastic young man, and I decided I'd work with him and help him to build a business. When we first started out, we started on him the hip-hop lines. We brought Carl Kanai into the country for the first time. We also brought Kanai here to meet and greet most of the customers. Tagai was one of the retailer that the owner met because he was one of our bigger clients.
My name is Susan. I'm a friend of Sagai's. I worked with him at International Clothiers for approximately just over 5 years. He is the most loving, generous person I've ever met. He's a hard worker. Wherever he's at, he cares about what he does.
My name is Victor Cruz, and I own my own company called Victor Cruz Sales. I met Sagai about 10 to 12 years ago when he had a store in downtown core of Toronto. And a couple of years later, he moved into a bigger location where he expanded his retail operation. I was distributing at that time academics, and he was or the best independent retailer in this territory, which is Ontario, which is the largest territory in Canada.
My name is Adam Slater from Adam Slater Sales Agency here in Toronto, Canada. The early 90s, we started carrying urban hip-hop clothing brands. Maybe 93, 94 that I first met Sigai. And he called up one day and he said he wanted to come in and book Fat Farm. So we next day showed up and we started working the line. By the end of the year, we'd most probably done like $150,000 worth of bookings and shipping with Sigai, which put him in maybe like the top 10 percentile of my independent retailers.
He expanded, he brought in more brands, and also he's become to be, at that time, he became as a destination place for the youth of Toronto to look for certain brands.
I did get to know Sigai. It was actually back in the day when I would say all the hip-hop clothes and everything was happening. It was maybe around the early 2000s. And at that time, again, I was into the street culture, more the urban wear. And of course, as a young person, you're always looking for what's hip, what's hot. And of course, you want to have that person, that go-to person who would be the focal of where you're getting all your clothes from.
He was the place to go to if you wanted to have like a good selection and a good variety of brands and styles and colors and all sizes available.
Sigai's orders, you know, started out, you know, conservative, and then they, you know, went as high as, you know, 60,000 and above. The traffic and the business that he generated out of that store was quite impressive.
We were always amazed, even our counterparts in Montreal were always amazed the volume that he could push through with such a small store.
Jay and Tagai have known each other for about 10 years, where Tagai's had a great business relationship with Jay. He spent about $5 million at the store, and in these 10 years, Tagai has proven that he's a very hard worker and he has a great personality and always brightens up our days when he comes into the office.
In a past 10 to 12 years, I'd say averaging 100 to 200,000 at wholesale shippings. So that would work out to be over $1 million to $2 million in the past 10 years.
Not only did he grow his business to a multi-million-dollar business, but he grew multiple stores in the mall as well. And what was interesting about it was that all these big players would come into the market, into that mall specifically, and they would laugh